Well, speaking of things going downhill, and no, I'm not talking about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. I'm talking about inflation in the economy. We have experts coming out and saying that inflation is here for a while. And this isn't coming from me. This is coming from investment experts. And by the way, folks, you don't have to be an expert to see it. You're all living it. You're all seeing it. You can look at the trends. You look at the graphs, which is what we're going to cover here. So Macro Trends Advisors LLC, who are the founding partners, come out and say that they warned on Sunday that inflation will be here for a while as consumer prices hit a new four-decade high last month. Speaking on Fox News Live, Roschelle forecasted the price hikes will likely go even higher.
To inflation, let's take a look at the graph from January 2010 until May of this year. You see the spike happening now. Mitch, where does it end?
I think it probably goes higher. One of the things that's in there, not to get into the weeds, Mike, but shelter costs, what it costs for housing ends up being a lagging indicator of the way it's calculated by the government. And those prices are continuing to go up. Home prices are going up, even though interest rates are going up. Rent is skyrocketing. So I think you have that as a tailwind pushing up inflation. And oil prices, whether it be diesel or gasoline, flows through virtually everything we consume. The food on the table has to get from wherever it came to the store that you bought it in or the restaurant that serves it. So if gasoline prices stay the same or go up, and more importantly, if diesel prices go up, I think that's going to be pushing inflation. So I think inflation's here for a while. In fact, not only will it be a midterm election issue, it's possible that, once the potential presidential candidates hit the trail and start going to Iowa and New Hampshire, it's probably going to be an issue then as well.
Interesting. Mitch Roschelle, thank you so much for your time and your analysis today.
You also had earlier this month, the Labor Department revealed that the Consumer Price Index, CPI, is a broad measure for the price of everyday goods like gasoline, groceries, rent. And those rose 8.6% in May. We did a whole episode on that. If you haven't seen it, go check out our catalog. But prices jumped 1% in 1 month period from April. Those figures were both higher than the 8.3% headline figure and a 0.7% monthly gain forecasted by Refinitiv economists. Folks, things are so bad. And to give you a little bit of perspective, this is the fastest pace of inflation that we've seen since December of 1981. This is wild. And it's only getting worse. It's not like it's getting better. Remember, Joe Biden's, I'm doing everything I can, folks. I got everything under control. The dude doesn't have his own bowels under control, but he's going to sit there and tell us that he has the economy under control. Well, Roschelle also noted that the higher prices are forcing Americans to make choices. And they're not making good choices, by the way. Rather than spending cash and using a debit card, using your checking account, your checkbook, they're putting all this stuff on credit. So while interest rates are increasing, they're putting stuff on credit, which is costing them more than what it would have been in the first place if you paid for cash. So not only are you paying for an increase in inflation, but now you're on top of that, you're dramatically increasing the price of that good because you're buying it on credit, so long as you don't pay off that credit card before the interest rate kicks in. So this is crazy. And everything's under control. Check this out. Shelter costs, which account for roughly 1/3 of the CPI, accelerated in May, climbing to 0.6%. It marked the fastest 1 month gain since 2004. On an annual basis, shelter costs have climbed 5.5%, the fastest since 1991. Joe Biden has broken so many records, he can have his own Guinness Book of World Records by himself, and he'd cover front to front page, front to back. Energy prices rose 3.9% in May. Folks, these are like, you'd be lucky to see these types of prices in a year. And we're seeing them on a month-to-month basis. 34.6% from last year. This is energy prices. 34 freaking percent. Almost 35. Check this out. It's not even as bad as gasoline. Gasoline on average costs 48.7% more than it did from 1 year ago. I mean, everything's fine. Everything's fine. In all, fuel prices jumped 16.9% in May alone on a monthly basis, pushing the 1 year increase to a stunning 107%. But this guy was elected by 70 freaking million people. And we're supposed to take them all serious in 2 years, folks. Not even 2 years, basically a year and a half when people start running again. All these people are going to come out of the woodworks. The same people, again, that are putting menstrual blood on themselves, freaking twerking in the streets. shouting that their rights are being taken away. These same rights that don't actually exist in the Constitution, but they think it does because you got Ilhan Omar saying stupid stuff. The View, all these Democrats, these progressive left are coming out saying that all these things exist, very similar to how a man can actually have a baby. They're saying all these things actually exist when they don't exist. But remember, conservatives and the Republicans, we're all conspiracy theorists. We make this stuff up while they are literally crafting narratives as we speak about all the stuff that's being fake news. Unbelievable. Again, the same people that won't sit there and call out Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's dealings with China, but they're going to sit there and claim that, we're all fake. And it wasn't just inflation here and gas price and all that stuff. You have the S&P 500 heading towards the worst first half since the 1970s. We have here that stocks are about to turn in the worst first half in 50 years when the second quarter wraps on Thursday as inflation sits at a 40-year high. The S&P 500, the broadest measure of stocks, is nearly down 18% this year, the worst since 1970, as tracked by Dow Jones Market Data Group. That makes 2022 the fifth worst half performance on record. I mean, when I was saying Joe Biden's breaking records in a way that we've never seen, I wasn't exaggerating. I mean, immigration, inflation, CPI, GDP. I mean, it's record after record here that this guy is breaking, and he doesn't have a clue. I mean, he doesn't know any of this is going on. And I'm saying that because look at the card that he had to be given to sit down and talk and give a question. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, hand to God, if somebody dressed him in the morning. It wouldn't surprise me. This is a guy that fell going up the stairs multiple times. This is a guy, folks, that fell off his bicycle standing stationary. Stocks are falling at the possibility of a recession as recession possibilities rise. So here's some graphs here of the S&P 500. I mean, you're almost looking at 1,000-point decrease. If you look at a year to date or a 5-year, you could really see the decrease from basically November 30th, 2021 till today. It's almost 1,000 points. It's like 900 something. So just things going in a great direction with Joe Biden in office. You had a great increase under Trump, and leave it up to Democrats to freaking destroy everything. The Federal Reserve, which hiked interest rates this month by 0.75%, has failed to contain inflation thus far, as critics, including the U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, continued to also predict a forthcoming recession. But yet you're going to have Karine Jean-Pierre say that this is just a transition phase. Yes, a transition into recession, but they don't want to admit it. See, if they use the word transition, if it goes into recession, they're going to say, yeah, we're in a transition phase. That's what we're talking about. If it goes in a different direction of not a recession, yeah, look, we were right. See, it's a transition phase. So they're covering their own asses. They don't want to admit it. You have the U.S. Central Bank saying the same thing, that we're heading towards a recession. Again, you have the Treasury Secretary saying that we're heading towards a recession. The CEOs are banking on the fact that we're heading into a recession. I mean, everybody says we're heading into a recession other than Joe Biden. But Joe Biden doesn't want to acknowledge it. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.